Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hello, welcome. My name is Haven. I'm a first-time mom to my 7-month-old son. Yeah, welcome to my account. I post all things, vlogs, lifestyle, fashion. Today I'm doing beauty. Thought it would be fun to do a little makeup and hair routine because I get asked about that stuff a lot. So I'm gonna take you step by step on my everyday makeup routine, which is really quick because, you know, stay-at-home mom life, you don't always have the most time to get ready, but son is napping, so I think we have some time. And I think while I get ready, I'm gonna tell you guys some facts about myself because I feel like YouTube of all my platforms knows me the least. So let's get into it. Okay, so I already did skincare. If you want to see some of that, I will do it in a different video. I use pretty much all Good Molecules. So for a primer, I use the Good Molecules silicone-free priming moisturizer. So it's like a moisturizer and primer all in one. I also use this NYX Bear With Me Prime Set Refresh because it just makes my skin like feel moist. It's good. So this is a new step in my routine because my skin is so dull. You know how it be in winter, your skin just feels like so pale, dull, dry. So I just bought this Say Beauty tinted moisturizer and it also has SPF in it. I don't love foundation. I just don't like the way it feels on my skin. So I love tinted moisturizer, it's just more lightweight. Fun facts about me, let's see. My name is Haven Presley Nation. Fun fact, my last name is not Presley. It is my middle name. A lot of people on my social media accounts think that my last name is Presley, obviously. I could see where the confusion might be. The reason I'm Haven Presley on all my social media platforms is because a couple of reasons. One, I made these social media accounts before I was married. Accounts were already pretty large and established by the time I got married, so I didn't want to switch up. Maiden name is Staab, S-T-A-A-B, and the reason I never had Staab on any of my social media platforms is because honestly, I always hated my last name just because everybody would always pronounce it wrong. Everyone would always say Stab or Stabe, but it's Staab. It's German. That's why I also didn't keep it as my middle name. I just liked my middle name, Presley. So I am Haven Presley on social media. The reason why I kept my last name off is because I was a teacher with bigger social media platforms and I didn't want anyone being weird. You know, I had a lot of friends that crazy people on the internet just like contacted their admin and like found where their school is, and I just didn't want that to happen. So Haven Presley. By the way, what I just used is the Say Beauty concealer. I just switched over from Kosas to this and I'm obsessed because this is just a little more hydrating and I've got crazy dry and honestly kind of like wrinkly and baggy under eyes. I've always had issues with my under eyes, so this is amazing if you struggle with that as well. I am 25 years old. I actually turned 26 at the end of this month on the 26th of March. It's my birthday. I've always really loved my birthday. However, it's definitely getting less and less exciting. I don't know. I'm kind of getting depressed about getting older now. I used to get really excited about getting older and now I'm getting kind of depressed about it because I think a lot of that has to do with being a mom because I want time to slow down, but getting older is fun. Lots of exciting stuff happens when you get older, so I'm trying not to be too down about it and just enjoy where I'm at. I don't always do this step, but I think I'm going to today. Kosas Feathery Cloud Set Powder. I usually just take a big fluffy brush and just like throw it on there. I am 4'11". I think that really shocks people when I say that on the internet because I feel like the internet makes everyone look tall. I don't know, I feel like anytime I see someone discuss their height, they're like, oh my gosh, I thought you were so much taller than that. Put a little powder with my beauty blender right here because I get kind of shiny right there. I've been made fun of for being short my whole life. I will still get offered a kids menu. One time, went out to eat with Hunter, my husband and my mom when we were just dating. And it was like the first time we went out to eat together. I skipped a step. All the waitress grab a kids menu and I knew it was for me because I'm short, and I panicked and I ran ahead and I whispered to my mom, I was like, she got a kids menu, go ahead of us, and when she sets it down, please grab it because I'm gonna be so embarrassed if Hunter sees me get a kids menu. What I just put all over is the Milk Makeup bronzing stick. Love it. It makes your skin super glowy. Love to travel. I've been to 13 different countries and I think like 25 states or something. I come from a family of people who love to travel. A lot of people ask how I have gotten to go to like really cool kind of like different places. My dad's side of the family, they're photographers and they love to shoot wildlife too. So a lot of the times like they'll pick somewhere they want to go and then they'll contact like hotels and stuff and ask if like they can do work for them in exchange. So for example, the first international trip I ever went on was to Costa Rica, and we stayed in the middle of the rainforest, like in the middle of all this wildlife, which was really intense. I was honestly scared the entire time. There was so many things that could kill you in that rainforest. But my dad and my stepmom would hit up where we would stay and they would offer to do wildlife photography and photography for their hotel in exchange for just like staying there. So that's why I go to kind of cool, exotic places. Same thing when I went to Bora Bora, Ireland, like all those places. First time to go out of the country was when I was 15 and I'm 25 now. So I've got a lot of traveling crammed into 10 years. I went to high school in a really small town. I'm going to go over my cream bronzer with this powder bronzer. It's the Makeup by Mario Soft Sculpt Transforming Skin Perfector. I loved my little town. It's actually not small anymore. It's actually really big. My brother goes to high school there now. I think I was the last class under 175 students, and now like my brother has like 500 in his class. It's pretty crazy. But I did cheer for a year and I didn't like it very much. And then I did pom for 2 years and I loved my pom team. It was so much fun. However, I wasn't really a dancer. I was more of a cheerleader, but it was still really fun. Went to the University of Central Oklahoma. I got my degree in early childhood education, which certified me to teach pre-K through 3rd grade. If you're pretty new here, you might not know that I started my platforms on, so I posted teacher content, tips, tricks, experiences, all that kind of stuff. I graduated in 2020, so the year and the semester COVID started, so I didn't get to have a college graduation, didn't go back to school after spring break because everything was online. Really crazy. I was actually really upset to not have a college graduation. That's a lot of years and work put into not get a college graduation. Like, I'm still upset about it. I cheered in college for 2 years. I was a collegiate national champion with my cheer team in 2016. Probably my favorite college memory by a landslide, besides like getting engaged and stuff. Always worked super freaking hard. So I got my first job when I was 15 and I worked in a like after school care program, basically being an after school teacher for kindergarten and 1st grade. And that's where I decided I really wanted to be a teacher when I grew up. I had a lot of fun doing that, and I think I did that for 3 years, so 15 to 18. And I always had a second job because honestly that job didn't pay very well. I had a couple different jobs. I worked at Sonic for a day. Never went back after that because it was a lot. It was really gross to me, and I never ate fast food again after that. Never ate Sonic again until I got pregnant and I craved it. That's why I'm not really a beauty influencer, because I forget to say what I'm using. Rare Beauty blush in the shade Bliss. It's so pretty. I have 4 shades of Rare Beauty. This is my favorite. I accidentally shaved my eyebrow off the other day, so that's fun. Another second job I had for a couple months was I worked at Vans, the shoe store. I went through like a little skater girl phase. So I was like, well, this is fitting. Plus I'll get to have like discounts. I wore Vans like every single day of my life. So I was like, I want to work there for the discount, honestly. I got a job that stuck a little bit longer. It was more fun and chill. I worked at this tanning salon called Riviera. I really liked it because it was really slow a lot of the times and I could just like literally sit there and do my homework. I normally do my eyebrows a lot, but I kind of like it. I had to because I shaved it off, but I used the e.l.f. Instant Brow Lift Pencil in the shade Taupe. Going to go over it with this e.l.f. Clear Brow Gel. Usually I just do this, but since I shaved my eyebrow off, I colored it in a little bit. I would pretty much get paid just to do my homework and check people into tan and then clean the beds when they left. And I would work by myself so no one would bother me. I worked on super slow days like Saturday mornings, 10 a.m. to like 2 p.m. and it was just so easy. Okay, I go over my cream blush with this Makeup by Mario Desert Rose blush. The other second job that I got was the longest job that I've ever had and the best job I ever had. If you're in college or going to college, listen up. This is the best college job you could possibly have. I worked at a restaurant called Charleston's. It's actually where I met my husband. I started working there when I was 18. I stopped working there and I was going to be a teacher after I graduated. So the summer of 2020 is when I quit. So I worked there for about almost 6 years. You know, serving food doesn't sound like the most fun job, but don't knock it till you try it, okay? Hunter and I got to live so good in college. We never went through a broke college kid phase because this job was so good, so flexible. I mean, I'm not kidding when I say I took a pay cut to be a teacher from being a server. Go in to a local, nicer end restaurant, apply for a job, work there all of college, and I promise you won't regret it. I'm gonna spray this again because my skin feels like dry and this kind of like brings back to life. It's the, again, NYX Bear With Me set spray, whatever. Actually, be a server in any restaurant. Like, honestly, people need to be servers so they know how to treat their servers, because that's really important. Had a lot of tables treat me very terribly, and I'm like, if only you knew what it was like to be a server, you might treat them a little better. I was a shift leader, so I would like close down the restaurant a lot. So my shifts were longer than the typical server, like a regular server at our restaurant. Their shifts were probably between 4 and 5 hours long. And when I was a regular server, I'd probably make about 150 to 200 a night. Shift leading, I would make 250 to 300 a night. And I shift led usually about 4 to 5 times a week. Mainly did 5 times a week until I started student teaching, and then I went down to 4 because I just didn't have the time working a full-time job for free, and it was hard. Hardest time of my life for sure. I kept really busy in college because I cheered. I had a job. When I was cheering, I was actually a host in that restaurant, and we didn't make as much, so I worked doubles a lot. So this is how my schedule would go for the first 2 years of college, okay? I would wake up for practice at about 4:45 a.m., practice from 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. Then I would go in for a host shift from like 10:45 to 2-ish, and then I would go to a class or two. I would come back and work another host shift from 4, 5, or 6, those were the 3 start times, to about 9 or 10. And then during competition season, I would then go back to practice from like 8 to 12. Then I would wake up at 4:45 and do it the next day. Like, I was jam-packed in college, especially when I was cheering. And then in the years that I wasn't cheering and not student teaching yet, I just did school and work. Started student teaching all of 2019, so right before COVID, thank God. I feel so bad for people who student taught in COVID, like virtually. So sad, and so much in student teaching, I can only imagine. I don't usually use highlighter, but I'm going to today, just because I'm feeling froggy. Rare Beauty in this shade Enlighten. My student teaching experience was pretty fun for the most part, besides it just being, you know, incredibly freaking busy. I was early childhood, so I did a split block of student teaching. I did first 8 weeks in 3rd grade, the second 8 weeks in pre-K. I always thought I wanted to teach kindergarten or pre-K until I actually student taught in pre-K, and then I was like, nope, I actually love 3rd grade. And I was so disappointed to get a 3rd grade position student teaching, because I was like, I'm so short, they're not going to take me seriously, they're going to be as tall as me, which they were, but it didn't change a thing. They respected me just as they would respect any other teacher, and I fell in love. So that's when I decided 2nd grade was going to be a sweet spot for me, and I went on to teach 2nd grade for 2 years. Loved teaching 2nd grade. I used L'Oreal Telescopic Mascara. This is the best ever. I have a couple mascaras that I use, but this is what I like for the most part. My teaching experience was really tough. I started out in the year of COVID, where we were wearing masks the entire year. It was just stressful because I had to constantly stop and tell people to put their masks on. Like, it was just a big ordeal with 2nd graders and wearing masks. And obviously they weren't comfortable, but I never complained about it. But it was just annoying to try to get, you know, kids to comply with that. And if like somebody walked in and I had kids not wearing a mask, like I was gonna get in trouble. And then also just the factor of being scared to get COVID, especially because in November of 2020 is when I got married. So I got married in the middle of my first year. I was planning a wedding, going through COVID, first year teaching. Like, we bought a house that year, we moved towns that year. Like, 2020 was an insane year. And I think that's why, part of the reason why in 2021 I was diagnosed with like crippling anxiety that I still battle every single day. I just had my life just change, and although it was like really good change, it was still a lot of change. So I think the main reason I had such a hard time teaching was because I had a hard time like taking the emotion out of it. Like, I cared about my students so much that I wasn't able to turn it off when I'd get home. I taught kind of in like a rougher area, served a very low income demographic, and with that, a lot of the times comes really tough home lives, and you know, a lot of my kids didn't have food to eat at home, and they were being abused at home, and I had to make DHS calls, and that takes a toll on you, especially when you're a major empath. Like, I have so much empathy, and it's just really hard. My second year of teaching, got pregnant in August 2021, had a miscarriage in October 2021 in my classroom. It was horribly traumatizing, so that contributed to a lot of my burnout too, was because I was so depressed about that. I ended up getting pregnant with my now son, who's 7 months old. I got pregnant again in November. I was pregnant pretty much the entire year. I was breaking up second grade fist fights. I had students who would threaten each other, throw things at each other, throw things at me, really fist fight. I had one kid break another kid's arm. I had books flying across my room. Like, it was stressful. So those who wonder why I got burnt out of teaching so fast, those are big contributing factors. So, not to mention all the problems within the education system. Aside from COVID and all that, like, it's just insane. The behavior and it was just a lot. My plan was always to be a stay-at-home mom when I had babies anyways. I wasn't expecting to have babies so quick. I would be a stay-at-home mom regardless. I was just like so in love with teaching. Like, I still would have taken time to stay home with my son, especially because teachers, we don't get paid much in Oklahoma. We don't get paid much anywhere, but especially Oklahoma. Luckily, it's really cheap to live here. I think I got paid $2,700 a month. The teacher salary, it was gonna be like $2,100 a month for daycare. And I was like, I'm not gonna work just to put my kid in daycare. Like, that's just not gonna happen. Okay, moving right along to my hair. I'm not gonna use this now because you do it when your hair is wet. So I did it yesterday when I washed my hair, but this makes your hair so freaking soft, and it helps protect up to 450 degrees, calms frizz, softens and hydrates, and protects hair from breakage and postpartum hair loss. Your girl needed this. On the topic of postpartum hair loss, this Divi scalp serum, like, you can literally see where I'm having like so much new growth. Like, look at all these baby hairs coming in. My hair is growing rapidly now. By the way, I will link all of these products on my Amazon. That's where I get pretty much everything. I get everything on Amazon because I want things quick, and when I order things on Amazon, I can get it the next day. If there's anything I can't link, I will link it on my like to know it. A little bit of this in right now. You just like fill it up a little bit and kind of just like go through. It does not make your hair oily at all, which is a great thing for me because I already have like pretty oily hair usually. Right now, not so much because it's winter, but her and I met in 2015 when I started working at the restaurant I was talking about that I worked at for 6 years with him. That was in 2015. I was 17 when we met, just about to graduate high school, and he was a freshman in college. Actually, we're in separate relationships when we met and didn't start talking until like a year and a half after I started working there. So summer of 2016 is when we started talking and dating. Got engaged November 2019, and then we got married in November 2020 on November 7th. So we've been married for almost 2.5 years. He's my soulmate. We're the weirdest because we are so alike but so different at the exact same time. It's the strangest thing. I started my social media as just like a fun thing to do during quarantine, you know, when we were all quarantined in 2020 and we couldn't go anywhere and we were so bored at home. I was like, okay, I'll give in, I'll download TikTok. TikTok is where I got my start. I started off just making like a bunch of silly videos about like my dogs and wedding planning because I was planning my wedding at the time. I had a few videos go viral before teaching, so I kind of started getting a platform a little bit before I started teaching, but I really took off in my first year of teaching in 2020, probably about August, when I was actually teaching and showing videos in my classroom. I would say I was most known for like teacher outfits, teacher tips, like for first year teachers, and just like sharing my experiences. I've always tried to be super real on my platforms, and I think that's how I grew a lot, is because a lot of other first year teachers like could relate to things I was going through. And even though my platforms were mainly teaching, I also shared a lot of just like my life. So that made the transition into like just lifestyle content pretty easy, because I feel like I already had a pretty good community that, you know, cared about my life a little bit. I unlocked a whole new appreciation for my platforms when I had my miscarriage, because I got to connect with so many women who have been through the same thing, because unfortunately miscarriage is a common thing. It happens in 1 in 4 pregnancies. I was so grateful for how vulnerable and open I've been on my social media platforms, because there's nothing more isolating and will make you feel so alone than having a miscarriage, especially when you don't have anybody in your family or friends who have been pregnant at all, let alone like had a miscarriage. So I'm not even exaggerating when I tell you I've connected with thousands of moms who have been through the same things as me, whether it be miscarriage, just happy life, like anything else happy in life that I've been through. Pregnancy after loss, which has been really hard. Trauma, because I had a rough go with my birth. Like through every step of my life in the last 2 years that have been so incredibly life-changing in some good ways, some bad, I have been able to connect and relate with so many people. And that's why like I just get, it sounds cliched, and people say followers are just a number, or some people will say, and not really mean that their followers mean more than a number, but I like truly mean it, because if I hadn't got to put my life out there and connect with so many of you, I'd be in such a dark place. I really would. I have no friends that have been through motherhood or loss or pregnancy or anything. I would be so lost without you guys. I'm like, from the bottom of my heart, I'm being so serious. Started my platforms to give knowledge and teacher tips and share experiences. And in turn, now it's flipped, and I learned so much from you guys. Also teach me so much. Like if I have a question, I just hop on my Instagram and I ask a question. I get hundreds of responses. I learn so much from so many different women, so many different perspectives. Like I'm so emotional right now. A lot of people, like when people share like vulnerable, kind of bad experiences, a lot of people think, oh, they're attention seeking. But you know that Selena Gomez song where she goes, somebody sees me like this, maybe they won't feel so alone. Like what I always try to do when I talk about anxiety, miscarriage, all the tougher parts of life, because I feel like a lot of influencers, they don't share the hard times. They only share the good times, and that makes them like kind of unrelatable. Why is their life perfect and mine isn't? You know, it's kind of sad. So I've always tried to be as vulnerable as possible and share my life and relate with you guys. And I get hundreds of messages daily saying that my page inspires or gives hope to people, but my followers help and inspire me just as much, if not more. So my little rant. I'm just really grateful. Anyways, I use the Babyliss 1 1/4 inch. It's also on Amazon. It might still be on sale, but I'm not sure. Like I said, we'll link all of this. Most of it is already linked. I have a hair highlight, a makeup highlight, a skincare highlight on my Amazon storefront, but I will make sure it's all there. I don't know, I think that's all. I'm really not that interesting. Love you guys. Thank you for watching and getting ready with me. Like I said, I will link all of this. You can usually find anything I use linked on my Instagram stories, highlights, Amazon storefront, or like to know it. Just make sure you're following me on Instagram. Like I said, I just raved about Instagram so much because I'm able to connect with you guys on a one-on-one basis more there. So if you want to connect, please send me a DM. Make sure to like and subscribe, and let me know always in the comment section what you want to see next. Or if you have any other questions, let me know. I will be in the comments. Love you guys.